and a lot of us probably have this in common, is to hold your issues, so to speak, to yourself. Don't share it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the fear of not looking bad.
Yes.
Or the fear of what other people might think or feel about you.
So which of these fears are the ones that you would identify with? This is episode 020 of Success Caribbean Style, and you are in for a treat today as you listen to our guest that will be introduced to you in just a few moments. Hey, I'm Kingsley Grant, your host, your coach, and your guide. I will be guiding you through this journey as we talk with our guest today on this show. This is the online radio podcast, Success Caribbean Style. And by the way, if you have not yet gone to Facebook and like the page, please do that. You don't want to miss out of a number of things that have taken place there, but also other posts that have been made. And also make certain that if you have a question, please email me at podcast@successcaribbeanstyle.com. And with that said, without further ado, let me then now introduce you to our guest who is on the online radio on-demand podcast, Success Caribbean Style. However, before I do that, I just want to ask you one thing, and it's this. Have you liked the Facebook page, Success Caribbean Style, as yet? If you have not, can I ask you to do that today? Would you go to facebook.com/Success Caribbean Style and like the page and just look at what's there. And now here is our featured presentation of our guest on successcaribbeanstyle.com/020. Our guest today is Ike Anderson. Ike joins me on Success Caribbean Style online radio podcast, the show to the Caribbean people, for the Caribbean people, and about Caribbean people who have overcome the odds and achieved some measure of success. It is designed to entertain, empower, and inspire the audience, you, and how you can do the same. Here's a little bit about my guest today. Ike Anderson has been a serial entrepreneur since age 9 when he enlisted the power of duplication with several other boys, creating a direct sales candy company that grew into an international business with an evolutionary distribution model before he was 15. He is now the CEO and founder of Upstart Internet, a niche internet marketing and digital advertising agency that serves clients in creating their vision with laser-focused accuracy by maximizing online user experience. Ike continues to be involved in his local community as a champion for the highest and best outcomes and looks forward to entering the political arena to champion causes that will move humanity forward. Ike, thanks for joining me on Success Caribbean Style. How are you, sir?
I'm amazing, Kinsley. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, my brother. It's great having you here. And as we spoke earlier, one of the things that is really much more, even made it more so, is that we are Monroonians, or past Monroonians, which is also an interesting caveat of our conversation here today.
Exactly.
So one of the things we can say in common is, in our case, it's a cultivate.
Exactly.
And those who are, go ahead.
No, I was saying thanks for having me on, and looking forward to sharing and putting some stuff out so that can benefit everyone.
Awesome, and I know that that's going to happen today. And just for those who may have wondered what I just said, today is our motto for our school, our past school. It means a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. So, let's get this out of the way. Ike, up front, what country are you representing today?
Well, I was born in Jamaica. I grew up there until I was 16. So I can say I'm representing Jamaica, but on a broader level, I think I'm representing the world and humanity.
Exactly, a global sphere in a sense, and which is great. But I think for today's show, we're going to take Jamaica as a Caribbean country that you're going to kind of represent to some degree today. So I appreciate that. Now, I haven't grown up in Jamaica in the early years and so on, and may have had some constant contact. I'm not sure how much of that you've had since you've left. But what would you suggest, based upon your remembrance, of a must-see, do, or have for someone visiting Jamaica?
Well, I still have a lot of contacts there. I'm there at least 2-3 times a year consistently. But I think it all depends on the person, what they're interested in, what their interests are. But there's a lot of history in that country. And if you're keen to learn about just how we became a people in the Caribbean, Jamaica is an ideal place to go study and learn about your ancestry and your lineage. And also understanding our culture, and as it relates to the combination of other cultures from throughout the whole entire world coming there and collectively becoming one people. So if you're interested in understanding human psychology, why we do what we do, Jamaica is an ideal place to go. And understanding that, you understand food and how that plays a role in our culture, music, and just how we act as human beings and why we act that way.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really a cultural mixture of all kinds that you described so well. So because this show focuses on entertaining and empowering and inspiring the audience on how they can overcome obstacles and achieve their dream, we want to hear some of your own story. So I know that you say you were in Jamaica until about 16 years old. And kind of before we get into your migration story and how it all came about, what would you say was your favorite dish that at some point you missed, or at least at times like to revisit and have from Jamaica?
Ackee and saltfish.
Yes, it is one of those, like, oh my, I had some a month ago. I said, oh man, there's like a lot of memories here,
Right. But that's, one of our national dishes, and, something that we grew up on. Having ackee mixed with saltfish, seasoned, cooked down, and it's just sultry, home food. And, when you get that, you're just in a good space.
It really asks this kind of off question here, Mike. Can you cook ackee and saltfish?
Of course.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I know that some people they like to have it, but they can't really cook it. I'm so thankful that I learned how to cook it once. Oh man, this is what it was all about,
Oh yeah, if you ask my wife why she got married to me, I think it's probably the cooking.
Well, that's great. That's a great thing. At least she'll never go hungry.
You're right, exactly.
So, what's one phrase that you remember from the homeland, from Jamaica, that has stayed with you over the years, and explain what that means?
I think one of the main things that continue to reoccur for me is I grew up with my grandmother, and she spoke to me in parables. Like everything was a parable, and it wasn't direct. I had to go sit, meditate, and concentrate on what she said and figure out what she was trying to say, really, right?
Yeah.
One of the things she always said, though, was I have to be better than the other person, meaning from a mindset of you can't be talented alone in life, because hard work always beat talent all day, every single day. So she stressed hard work, and over time you realize it's not just really hard work, it's smart work, and realizing that your talent can only take you so far, but you got to be just as good as the next person next to you, or twice as good as them, in order to be able to execute based on talent or based on just taking action. Yeah. So that's something that's always stuck for me.
Wow. And I think it's we'll see a bit later on, as we have watched and listened to and your own success story. I think that it's really has played a part throughout. The fabric is kind of woven into the fabric of your story, but we get into it in a few moments. So you grew up with your grandma, and would you say that was a more, because I find it from Jamaica, I'm from Jamaica myself, and growing up with an older, generation, because my parents were, a bit older, and that was one of the things that was, the hard work was stress, but also the idea of academics, and you ought to become a certain kind, either a doctor, an attorney, engineer. Those were the kind of jobs that So I don't know what it was like for you, what your grandmother kind of pushed you towards, and how did that go?
Well, I think what she really did was inspire the ethics, because it really doesn't matter what you got into. She really didn't care to say be a lawyer, be a doctor. All she really cared about was that I was passionate and happy in whatever I did. And that set the framework for me being just open to possibilities and trying and doing different things. So that's the framework that she set for me. And from just watching her, she always push positivity, always push, obviously hard work. But then as I got older, she changed the message from hard work to smart work, meaning that you can work hard, but you realize sometimes the harder you try, the more it eludes you, it runs away from you. So being in a sense of working deliberately and expecting what it is I'm creating, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So she inspired that for me.
It does, because I think you are one of the fortunate ones, because not many, I've interviewed and spoken to so many people in the Caribbean, and they tend to be like so almost like one-sided in their viewpoint, where giving you the chance to tap into what you want to do and what you like. It sounded like your grandma was onto something there, which kind of inspired you, as you said, and allowed you to become who you are today. So when you migrated and you came to the United States, where you migrated to?
Yes.
Okay. What was it like for you in that whole migration process? Because you're coming down from a bigger country and different, experiences as cultural and so on. What was it like for you? Kind of walk us through the process of you kind of becoming assimilated and then adjusting to a new culture like this.
Well, you see, for me, it was one of the things where I had a little business going. I was, in my own rights, pretty successful at the time, what I call success, building a business and making some money where I could buy my own things, not depending on anyone. And at 16, that's when my dad really started pushing further education. I had to go to college, and I'm like, why do I need to go to college? I'm making money. You go to college to learn something to go make money. I'm already doing that. But at the end of the day, you still listen to your parents, and that's when I migrated, and I didn't like it one bit, and I resisted, and I wanted to go home, but it's one of those things, when you get here, it's really lonely because you don't have the support system. My grandmother, huge part of my life. She wasn't there anymore. My friends, so I literally had to start over from scratch.
Wow.
Now, in the grand scheme of things, I also had to be cognizant that I was still very fortunate and lucky, because a lot of people come in this country and they don't have any support at all. They're either here by themselves, or they're here, there's no paper, no document, so they can't work, right? They're here and it's just rough.
Yeah.
But at least I had my dad. And, I had some sort of stability and support in that capacity. So I can't complain one bit, as much as I was lonely and I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find that also being trying to make your way to learn the system, and then you have people who may not understand, and you're trying to fit in, and they might want to keep you out, and you have to kind of make your way through. It's almost like I feel like the guy on the outside trying to get inside. And how did you navigate that whole process?
Right. So when I left Monroe and I came here, I went to a school that had a lot of Jamaicans. So in other words, I had the camaraderie already.
Okay.
There's a few guys there that went to Monroe, so I already had that type of connection. So in Florida, there's a place called Lauderhill, which is in the Fort Lauderdale area. There's a ton load of Jamaicans. So it's like you're home, but you're not home, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like they took me and brought me straight into Wisconsin somewhere where, you know, there's one or two Jamaicans every 50 miles. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't as bad as it could have possibly been for some other people, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I think that's a huge factor because I know when I first came here, I didn't have that at all. I mean, I was literally, as you described earlier, by myself, and I had to. It was tough. It was really, really hard. So having that as almost a receptive community, almost ready-made for you, is also very helpful. You mentioned something earlier, Ike, and you touched on the word success. So let me ask you, because there's so many definitions out there, how would you define success?
That's an amazing question. And I really feel like you can't be successful until you've gotten that definition defined for you. For me, success is the ability to do what I want, when I want, how I want to, because I want to, while contributing.
Wow, I love that. That is really very pointed and like capture the essence, I believe, of what so many people have a hard time defining. And I love that definition, because it really is at the core of what most people are pursuing. And sometimes if they don't have this in place, they just don't know what they're going after. So they'll never be able to experience success.
Right. But if you don't know what it is, you're just going after something, you know, and it's not clear what it is. So in order for you to be successful, in my opinion, we got to get clear on what that is for us, because it's different for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, something another mentor said to me, he's like, if I gave you $1 million right now, do you know exactly what you would do with it down to the dollar? And it was clear for me that if I don't have that clear what that $1 million is and what I would do with it down to the dollar, I won't be trusted with the responsibility of $1 million. So it all ties into the same concept of success. You got to know where you're going with what you're doing in order to get it, have it, be it, and control it.
That's really, I like that framework you just gave, because you kind of also expanded on the very thought that, you know, even using the experience of the example of the $1 million, because how many people today would have no idea where to even start because they had not been thinking ahead of time what they would do with success if it came their way and knocked on the door and said, here am I now. Exactly. What you gonna do?
Yeah, you know, it's so true. You know, I think I've shared this with a few people, and I think this is really important, you know, as it relates to success and, you know, creating dream, passion, because sometimes we don't even know what we want depending on where we are in life. And consider that things also change depending on where you are in life, because you've probably attained certain level and then it changes based on enlightenment or learning or whatever the case may be, right? But went to Disney World with my kids, and consider you go into the ice cream shop and you bought a scoop of ice cream for your 5-year-old,
right?
And you start eating the ice cream, and has it ever happened where you start licking it and it just falls off the cone?
Yes.
And you sit over it and you cry and you watch it melt away into the abyss.
Yes.
And you start to consider, am I going to lick it off the ground, or am I going to scoop it back up, probably blow it off, you know? But, you know, the ice cream, you go back in there and you bring her and say, don't cry, don't worry. We're going to get you some more ice cream. And that's one of the things that Disney World does. If you spill your ice cream, they'll give you another one. So you go inside there and they got a big old sign, get 3 scoops for the same price of 1. Would you buy the 3 scoop for your kid that can't handle the 1 scoop?
No, okay, if you can't handle 1, I can handle 3.
Exactly. So I think that's like life, tying it all together. If you can't manage, maintain support the one scoop, no way in hell you're going to support the 3 scoop of ice cream. You're just going to create more havoc and issues than you can. And that's life. Yeah. Sometimes you want more, do this, but we can't manage and maintain what we have in a small capacity. Managing $1,000, we won't maintain and maximize $1 million or 10, 15, 20 million, or even just the people in a relationship. So it's, same concept around, success.
Yeah, I think that's really a good also way of him expanding a bit more, because sometimes people striving, they hear the word success, they hear the word dream, and they all want to have that, but yet they have not put in place the kind of foundation to support that. So you seem to have had a clear idea of what you wanted to do as far as your dream and what you want to pursue, because you were successful, as you described earlier, at a very young age, having created your own way of some success. So tell us about the story. How did that kind of unfolded? Did you find that you had this clear idea what you wanted to do and everything kind of lined up and just took you there, or did you have this whole idea of ups and downs, zigzags, and how did you kind of get to where you are today?
Yeah, it wasn't always clear, and it's always unfolding, because sometimes you think it's clear and then you just get a wrench in the whole process that you just gotta readjust and change. But it's one thing, you can't stay down, you got to keep going. If you're driving in the dark, you can only see, 200 feet, 100 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's around the corner until you get there. But if you stop and say, it's dark, I can only see this far, and I'm just going to look that far, then you're stuck, you're stagnant, you won't grow. And that's just the process of unfolding and realize that everything is working out for you if you keep going. And not just keep going, but going in the right direction. Because you could run east looking for the sunset, you might not find it.
I know that marketing is a strong point of yours. I'm not sure if that was always the case for you, because I find sometimes, like you said, we kind of find our way as we just take action and take steps, and we kind of begin to see that this become clearer, as you described. So you kind of embraced and have really made it a specialty of yours in the area of marketing. So was that the vein in which you were going all along, or this happened to just be one of those moments where things evolved for you?
That's definitely an evolution. Because my background is software development, IT, that whole area. And once I started really learning about myself, I learned about human emotions, human thought pattern, really psychology. And you understand what makes people, what make people do certain things at a certain point in their life, making decisions. And you become a master of psychology, in other words. So if you combine psychology and understand why people do what they do and integrate technology, which is my background, that's really online digital marketing in its essence. And that's when I somehow merged into that area. But at the end of the day, everything is marketing and sales.
Yeah.
And even if you're an employee, it doesn't matter what you are, you're still selling yourself. So if you can learn to sell yourself, sell a product, and make money, it's all good.
And like how you sold your wife on Ackee and Saltfish was a marketing and selling right there.
Exactly. That's good marketing.
Like you did a good job there. So what are some other obstacles you had to overcome? Because I know sometimes in business, it's very unlikely that you don't have to hit the wall and have obstacles that you had to work through that really kind of was like, man, maybe I sat back with and how do I get past this? So what are some obstacles you had to overcome to be where you are today?
Oh, my goodness. There's so many. But I think one that resonates for me, and I'm sure it connects with other people that I've seen, is the obstacle of overcoming fear.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah. Up until very recently, like it just continues to unfold. One of the other things, that growing up that somehow was morphed into my personality and a lot of us probably have this in common, is to hold your issues, so to speak, to yourself. Don't share it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the fear of not looking bad.
Yes.
Or the fear of what other people might think or feel about you. You'd be shocked how those things actually limit us.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's something for me that continues to evolve. And I think that's probably the biggest determinant factor if I succeed, or I wouldn't even want to call it fail, because I don't believe in failure.
Right.
But if you go along a path of resistance or suffering, if you might want to call it, is fear.
Yeah.
How that shows up in our life and how we handle it. Because that's probably, oh my goodness, that either makes us or break us, that fear.
It's true. I think you point your finger on something very interesting, especially from us, the Caribbean culture, because there is almost an ingrained idea of that's privacy and no one should ever know what you're going through. And so you kind of have suffer in silence, and the fear of shame or embarrassment or
Right.
failure. And that is something that's, in the Caribbean, where the pride, we are a proud people, and
Right.
you don't want to make sure you don't let your people down. So if you have to die, and die with it inside of you. But I'm hearing you're saying that can also be the limiting thing, that if you can only find a way to break through that, it'll be helpful.
So true. So true. And if I could give you one example, I'm still processing this, and I'm still working through this, right? But a gentleman that I know, he's coming from a trust fund background where he's very, very wealthy, from generational wealth, right? And he made a post online the other day about being in a tough financial situation, and he's open to help people do something specific along digital marketing, because that's his background. And in my brain, I'm like, I would never post something like that. It doesn't matter what's going on in my life. I'd probably suffer and I'd probably die before I did that, right? And then I'm scratching my head. I'm like, but why would you die, right? Versus reaching out to a few people or some people that I know for a fact if I did, they would do anything for me.
Yes.
Why? And I started questioning that. I'm like, dude, you'd rather die than reach out?
Yeah.
And that brought up something deeper for me.
Yeah.
Because I started looking at this guy as he's brave. Because he's working towards his outcome, right? And he's brave because he may have a few million well just sitting somewhere, right? But to him, I'm okay, because I have what I need, so it doesn't matter. So it kind of, I'm still processing, by the way, but it's bringing up a lot of stuff for me right now. Just that one small thing, and understanding the identity that we created for ourselves, and us forcing and trying to live this identity where probably sometimes it's not even real.
It's true. And I think sometimes it's us, like you said earlier, the whole fear, because even that part you describe, and I find in my own life, until I had to work through myself, I would rather hide behind and just a facade and pretend everything is okay. And, when they're, like you said, people are out there who might want to help me, but they just don't know what my needs are, because I have my pride or my cultural, bearings that says, no, everything you keep behind the closed door. You don't take it outside, even if, and that and also keeps us kind of restrained. So you basically, Ike, today have, done a number of things, your business and all that. What would you consider to say, this is my greatest achievement of, if it, not the greatest, but one of the greatest achievements you've had so far in your life?
I know for a fact it's my kids. And I would say achievement in the fact that I see them growing and unfolding into amazing human beings. Like last night I laid down, my son insisted that he needed to read for me. And I was tired, but I went and I laid down, and he had this book he bought called Just Like Dad. And the passion he had reading it, and I just watched him and just the love in him, it just made me feel like just special. And I think my kids, my older daughter 10, she just loves me unconditionally. So like I come home and I'm sweating, from the gym and whatnot, and she still hugs me and I'm like sweating. I'm like, ew. But it's just love, and I don't think, achievement for me isn't anything physical or anything, like monetary, because in my universe, those are always there in abundance. Yes. So that's there. But that type of love and connection is more special for me.
That's such a beautiful thing you mentioned, because I know for myself, looking back, and my kids are a bit older now, and I look back and I said there's some things, if I could go back and do a bit different, but not having the freedom and the flexibility that I now have in my life because of the things I'm now doing, where I could spend time with my kids and watch them grow up and be at almost everything they're at. That I never had. I didn't, if I would say if I failed in anything, even though I don't see it as a failure, but I just didn't know better then. That's the area I think that I would have gone back and redo. But I like the fact that what you've created in business have allowed you to do one of the most important things in life, is being there with your children and doing what you're describing. So in the process of this journey of yours, Ike, what would be 2 or 3 lessons you've learned that you would like to pass on to the person who is planning to pursue their own dream away from their homeland or even in the homeland?
I think one of the main thing is, first, you got to get clarity on your dream. What is it you're doing? What is it you're creating? And why? The why is most important, because you can worry about how you're going to do it. You can get 50 million ways how to do it, right? You can figure out what you're going to do. But the most important thing is why. Because if your why don't make you cry, you don't have a why.
I like that.
So get clarity on why you're doing what you're doing, and create a roadmap for your life, because you could be 50, 60, 90 years old. Like, look, where people are living with technology nowadays, they're going to live past their hundreds, right? And if you don't realize that life is continuing to unfold and you're going to live longer, and whatever is going to happen, you can always readjust, you can change, you can reinvent yourself at 80. Like there's no limit. The only limit is whatever we put on ourselves. So get clear on your dream and why you're going to do it. The next thing is get yourself around amazing people. Your peer group, the people in your circle is very, very important, because you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. If you calculate finances, you're the average of those 5 people. If you calculate mindset, you're the average of those 5 people. So constantly elevate your peer group. Very, very important. And then the third thing is figure out how to ground yourself. And create a daily process of grounding yourself. One of the things that I do to ground myself, and when I say ground, is just kind of bring yourself back to reality, back to today, back to now, back to the present, is just being grateful and thinking every morning when I wake up 3 things that I'm truly grateful for. Something small, something medium, something big. Because if you got gratefulness flowing through your body, gratitude, you can't have fear, you can't have anger, you can't have anything that don't serve you simultaneously. So anchoring yourself in gratitude, very, very important as a part of your daily process, daily ritual. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
That's great. I really love those 3 things, because I think I hear that, and as a person that embodies that, you have fleshed that on, and is fleshing that out in your own company, because I have listened to parts where you have made your employees a priority even over the clientele, because you said, if a happy employee become happy customer, it just kind of evolved itself. So you have kind of taken this into your own business, Upstart Internet, because I really like the idea of that Upstart Internet. So what is Upstart Internet, and tell us a little bit more about that and how it functions and why you ended up doing that company.
So, I'm what you'd call a serial entrepreneur, and I've done a few other things and continue to do things, but Upstart Internet is pretty much my baby, and it's my teenager, so to speak, right now. Mm-hmm. We're a digital marketing agency. We do website, search engine optimization, drive traffic, but we focus primarily on the target market of plastic surgeons and attorneys, and people in the medical industry. So what we have, we craft strategy to pretty much tell a story to their potential clients and encourage their clients to become clients. So we're in essence an external marketing department for a lot of these companies.
Okay. So you mentioned your focus, your target audience are more the medical community, and so you're helping them to also expand and grow their own business, and you're giving them strategies, but also the practical things as far as the tools of how to do that. I'm hearing.
Correct. We actually do the implementation for them.
Oh, okay.
So another huge division that we have, we service attorneys. So if we go into a law firm and understand who their target market is based on the services they're providing, right? Mm-hmm. Set up the strategy and the story, how to communicate to those particular target market, and position them as an authority or the leader for that person to actually reach out to them. And we all use online. It's all digital. So, for example, if you got arrested for DUI in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, someone would go online, whether on their iPad, iPhone, whatever, their device, and they would type in, Fort Lauderdale DUI attorney. The attorneys pay us to make sure that their listings show up in the top results when someone does a search. And on the back end now, we track how many people actually sent them an email or made a phone call to the firm. And then we track from a monetary standpoint how many leads came in from those leads, how many of those leads became a consultation, and how many of the consultations became an actual client, how much revenue did they generate based on what they spent, which is what we call ROI, return on investment. So we bring in the technical phase, but there's also the business phase, because if you can show someone where they're spending, $10,000 and they're making 80 based on their spend amount, they'll spend $10,000 with you every single day, all day, every day. So it's the mindset of showing results and also delivering results and encapsulating that for you, because quite frankly, a lot of people are specialists.
Yeah.
They do what they do, but they have no idea how to actually run a business. So you create massive value by putting it all together and showing them how you can actually benefit them.
Do you have because I mentioned an attorney, and I know for the Caribbean many times what comes to mind almost immediately is, immigration attorney, people who want to get some help or advice or some counsel. And, you mentioned about if they type in DUI and say Fort Lauderdale, is there something like a provision made for someone who types in, say, immigration lawyer or attorney in, say, Miami or whatever the case might be? Would that be also something that could come under the auspices of Upstart, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. So it doesn't matter what category of service, and in essence, it doesn't matter what business.
Okay.
We actually go in, program and customize everything to create an amazing brand. So when someone's looking for you, they find you, and you're putting forward the message that's going to engage with them to take action.
That's really great service, and I can see how when you mentioned earlier that you are in this global community and looking for ways to serve people from whatever walks of life they're at, and I really think this is a great service. And what I love also is the fact that you are community minded, and you give back to the community in so many different ways, which I think is a great I admire that, because you are not just thinking self, you're thinking of others as well. And I think you're providing a great service. So as we coming towards the end here, Mike, I wonder, I keep on saying Mike. Why do you keep on saying Mike? I don't know why.
That's all good, man. Mike and Ike.
Hey, I'm telling you. So, Ike, is there something that you're working on as a company that is kind of coming out sometime soon, or that you would like the audience to know of? And if so, what is that? And also, what would you say is one book that you would recommend to the listener that they would be a must read, and why?
So the book I would recommend is, I read at least one book a month.
Wow.
Minimum for the past 5 years. One, at least minimum one, depending on the size, 2 or 3, but one. One that always sticks for me, and I've been through it at least 7 times, is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And not rich in the sense of monetary, but you realize that life in general, there's a lot of richness that goes, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whatever it is. So Think and Grow Rich is one that I would definitely recommend. As far as what I'm working on right now, my next venture, I have a podcast launching called Upstart Hustle. And one of the things I've found being an entrepreneur, it's not all beds and roses. It's not as easy as it may seem. There's lonely times. There's a lot of hard work at times, dealing with people, expenses, you name it. It's rough.
Yeah.
And I think being in business past 18 months, or the first 18 months of starting a business or operating a business, is the hardest times. So I'm putting together a process where I'm interviewing people who I consider to be really successful people that have created multi-millions of dollars business-wise, and picking their brains as far as what they've done to achieve and gotten over some of the issues that they've faced. And this is all an attempt just to compile a lot of video and put out so people can learn from other people that's done it. Because, Kingsley, a lot of people who've done it, they don't share what they did.
That's true.
And sometimes you reach out to them to try to make a connection, to get info, or to raise your peer group, and they're resistant to letting people in. So I've been able to kick down doors, walked around doors, jumped walls, and gotten the information. So I'm holding these people accountable, and I'm getting them to say what they've done and what they're doing. And hoping that it can connect the broader market of people that are out there, because we're all great. We just need the exposure and the motivation to continue moving.
Wow. I think that what I've just listened to, Ike, that's really stood out to me. You truly represent well in our system, which I cultivate, because you are a bright shining light on a hill that's really helping people to say, hey, here's a light you can follow, because I want to show you how to get there. And I really appreciate you sharing all that you have done, the wealth of knowledge, but also making yourself available in such a incredible way, not just to this podcast, but also to the people who are listening in, and also to those you are serving. So what's the best place you would say, like, for those people who are listening to you today, to connect with you?
Upstartinternet.com. Upstartinternet.com. Send me an email. We're launching a whole bunch of videos on there, so you can just, get in some content from there. And after December 31st, you can check on iTunes, Upstart Hustle. So any of those platforms, and, I'm definitely open heart, willing to help others in whatever capacity that I can, whatever they need, because I quite frankly wouldn't have been here without help of others.
I cannot say thank you enough, my friend, because I think that you have represented well, but also shared from your heart. I think what I like is a passion, is just and humility. Is that, you're there, being successful, but you want to give back and to enrich the community. And, I think that's really it's a great thing for people who are entrepreneurs like yourself. So I want to say thank you. As you're listening here today, if you missed any of those links that Ike mentioned, if you go to successcaribbeanstyle.com/upstart, again, successcaribbeanstyle.com/upstart, you'll find all the links there that Ike mentioned and how to connect with him and really learn from this man who has gone through the trenches, made some mistakes as he described, but has really rebounded from them and can teach you some very, very valuable lessons, as you've heard. I mean, I am just amazed to see what we've got in this next 45 minutes, how much he's shared with us today. So, Ike, on behalf of the Success Caribbean Style community, man, I want to say a big thank you for taking the time to share with this audience and myself all that you did today.
Awesome, Kingsley. Thanks for having me, and thank you for putting this platform together to bring our community together and collectively succeed together. And much credit to you, because it's you why we're having this conversation today.
Thank you, sir. And there you have it, my friend. As you have listened to Ike shared today, I hope that you heard not only his passion, but also the things he outlined as what to help you become successful. You heard the 3 fears and others that he identified that keeps you from experiencing your success. And as I began the show by asking which of these 3 fears you are able to identify with mostly. I don't know which is it for you, but I hope that as he talked about the evolving process and how his own business evolved and the other parts to it, I hope your confidence level have soared and you're thinking that, I think I can do this. Well, my friend, that's the goal of the show today. And I just hope that because of this episode, your life will be different. Now, if I can help you in any way, make certain that you reach out to me, as I mentioned before. Email me at podcast@successcaribbeanstyle.com. The email comes straight to me, and I will be able to respond to you. But also, you can join the group at facebook.com/groups/success Caribbean Style Innovators. I know it's kind of long, but you can go there. If you go into the page at Success Caribbean Style, just do a search in Facebook. You will find it. And make certain that you join. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And so we can have a conversation either on the page or in the group. Okay? Well, that's all for today, my friend. So thank you for listening and taking the time to be with me on this show today. By the way, I know it's a late release. It's not our normal release, just been one of those weekends. And I want to apologize before I close out the show today. So with that said, my friend, thank you. God bless. Peace out. And I'll see you on the Caribbean side. Yeah.